Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Nico.
And I'm TK.
That makes me KEVO.
And that makes this X's for podcast, X's for show, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy media goodness. And it's filled with hot queer dudes, so come get it. If you couldn't tell we were queer, I go like this. My keyboard is still on. Anyway, welcome to the show. It's going great. We are here to talk about the season finale of Daredevil Born Again. It's been a wild season. Something that I really felt like a lot of people were bringing to this conversation right away were a lot of preconceived notions, especially because of things like leaks and set photos or, on the street photos, as a lot of them turned out to be.
I mean, fuck it. The fact that this was a 4-season show in a completely different universe on a different network, by a different creator. The first time around, the second time around by a creator who was also from the previous universe, but is bringing in stuff from that universe to this universe, knowing that he's also writing for the character that he clearly loves the most, Punisher, who is getting the next special presentation, which I both love and hate, and we'll talk about.
I think this really is the biggest argument for, rather than the MC unification of the comics, we are really starting to see the comicification of the MCU, where it's not from, in so many ways, the same creative team that Daredevil that started now 10 years ago. Are we the anniversary today? Let me check that. But that one, it's not the same exact creative team, but it's almost literally the entire same cast, including ones they picked up along the way, like Punisher. Yeah. So in so many ways, it still is the same spirit of the characters in ways you can't argue, because Charlie Cox has embodied this character in so many ways across so many projects now. And that's really cool.
Yeah. And so we had all of these things that we thought told us what this show was going to be. And then instead, I don't know. I had so many expectations for this finale, and for one time in my entire life, I feel like Geraldo Rivera. There was a live crew following me in, and there was nothing in that vault.
Oh my god,
that is such. Oh my god,
I don't fully disagree with you, and I really hear your disappointment. And I think there's a lot of reasons for it. I don't think this was bad, but I think there was no real proper climax to this season finale in so many ways, and that really was a letdown.
I mean, it was a letdown, period, end of sentence. There's a whole other part of me, though, that's like, they're so geared up for season 2.
Yes.
That it does sort of feel a little bit like the last issue of every book that came out before Fall of the House of X started was just the month before. So you were like, oh, this is the last issue of whatever, Legion of X or whatever book, but the story is all continuing immediately next month. And for some characters in some books, maybe even the next week as other stuff picks up, this had a vibe similar to that, but we do know, if we're lucky, it's a year. And more.
In that regard, I respect them doing that more than a lot of shows, like when Mad Men would be like season 7 A and B.
Right.
This is emphasizing it's 2 seasons, but it's still relying on the fact that season 2 will be a more conclusive ending than this was.
Maybe it won't be. Let's be real. But
yeah, that is fair.
But what they're relying on is they know they're getting a season 2. They've already done work on it. They are saying that this is really rolling. This is sort of season A and season B. And I think that's a blessing and a curse. I think if it were 6 months. If they knew it were 6 months, I would be so down for this. Even 9, I could be like, I can probably keep it up for that. I can keep the energy up. I can stick this in the back of my head and be there for it. For
9 months, that's definitely a condition.
Well,
I believe in you.
For Charlie. But when we start getting into the year, to the 18 months, I I am so forgiving of Stranger Things, and I think it's, I participate in no Stranger Things fandom or hype, so it's just my show that I enjoy for myself, whatever. It has now been too long. I will watch the next season. I'm sure I will enjoy it, but it has been significantly too long. I've forgotten how I felt at all at that ending.
Or Yellow Jackets is going to be another good example soon. We just got done with a season, but now when is season 4 going to be, assuming it does get picked up? 2027?
Yeah, well, they went pretty fast between seasons, or maybe they didn't because I just watched it later. But yeah, I mean, that's another good example. Game of Thrones was always an issue. Marvel has more control because they own the property. These are their shows entirely. Like they own all of it. They can decide. And I love the idea that they would say to their teams, like, give us a season and we're going to order 4 seasons or whatever. And you're going to put them out in this amount of time. So you can do a slightly more suspenseful season that relies on maintaining interest and energy. My disappointment here is ultimately, I don't think we're seeing that. We have no idea when this will come out. And so, like I said, if it's 9 months, a year is going to be kind of it's not, oh Lord, great Cap. This is like the funnest wedding I've ever been to. Go for it.
I want to like intertwine your point with, I think one of the biggest problems we see in the industry, actually. We talk a lot about the fact that 22 episode seasons are too fillery, but 9 episode seasons are too slow and too small, where there's not enough content each year. But then we complain about companies churning out AAAs because they're doing them every year, and so nobody actually gets real development time on a game, so they're porting assets and they wind up using the cover from the IGN press release. And like, we're in such a weird place because like I hate to be that guy who's in the exact same, like, I'm like, yeah, no, this will take too long to get to season 2. But can it? It's just that the media machine on this show is so fucking fast that it feels like it's on pause when there's none of it. This show's going to have to get a big set of chairs.
Well, yeah. It could, they control everything. They have the power to keep the train going. If we were getting the special presentation in 2 months, and then some hint of Charlie Cox in Thunderbolts or Wilson in Thunderbolts or something, and then maybe an Echo special presentation midway through summer, and then we found out that we're getting this in November or something. They could keep their hype train going for New York closer to the ground stories. Give me a She-Hulk has to go to New York to try a case. We have so many options that could keep us keyed into the fact that this is a living part of the same universe, where in less than a year, about a year, Dr. Doom is going to show up, and the X-Men that we all grew up with and a new Fantastic Four are all going to come together. And as we got towards the end of this, I was like, it's very hard for me to conceive of the fact that Thanos snapped any of these people, or that any of these people were, was Heather snapped or not? Like, what
never comes up. No one ever acts like that's something that happened, and it doesn't have to come up all the time. But it didn't come up at all this entire season. Yeah. Similarly, I'm like, I don't feel like these people are threatened by the coming of Kang or Dr. Doom.
And what's weird is, like, that was something I was hoping for on 2 levels. One, the stupid legality of Yellow Hook or of Red Hook being a free port. That is something that, like, is too stupid to be believed without some hijinks. So give me something happened in the snap.
Yeah, are you telling me that Tony Stark doesn't then have his own, like, Freeport
Precisely.
Island in LA.
Yeah, well, what, are you telling me that
Well,
he based in New York, who already has the billions and didn't need to launder them, didn't find out about this first? So that's something where I'm like, make that a snap thing. Make it that, like, because of some eccentricity of the snap, now it is legally a gray area. Because it does need to be a little bit fantastical. That's not believable otherwise. Similarly, I kept hoping it was just because I was inspired by this, but when is it Buck?
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep
The
not
assistant.
wanting to call him that because of Bucky and Buck.
I said the same
most amazing
thing.
dog in the world.
Or also Buck from 911.
Yeah.
Another hot Buck.
So
it's just
when
weird.
Buck pulls out the needle that he's clearly just going to inject and kill Matt, my thinking, I didn't even care about that, but my thinking was Matt just got shot and can't be Daredevil. Basically what I'm getting at is I wanted Punisher to be like, here is MGH, or here is something sci-fi that would at all justify how you're about to get through the rest of this episode. Two things there. One, this is a comic book show. This is a comic book show. I want comic book stuff. I want super heroics. Daredevil's superpowers don't include a healing factor. So give me, I mean, yeah, I know, but we don't talk about it and it doesn't come up
Exactly,
in this show.
yeah.
So it's either this is where you announce that it turns out that he has a healing factor, or Frank says, I got this drug, it's from, somebody who we'll meet later, or reference, the super soldier serum or something. And he says, I'm going to inject you with this because otherwise there's no way that you could fight less than 24 hours after you got a gunshot.
Just give him a banana bag.
And the thing is, it only matters because it does kind of matter. What we saw in this finale was New York City fall under martial law, and that's something that is a really big deal that would have repercussions in other stories. I included Thunderbolts and Spider-Man on the cover of this episode because those are Manhattan-based. We saw Thunderbolts is going to cross into Manhattan. We know that Spider-Man is affected by Manhattan. So are these story points that are going to have wider repercussions? And, it matters because, we still don't know exactly where Matt going to LA fell. We don't know why. And it's exactly as you're saying. These things can and should have repercussions in the wider story in ways that... harken back to the previous ones when people complained that adamantium hadn't come up again. I was like, that's kind of a nonsense point because it's not really that important. It has consequences, but it's not something that you are going to see as heavily affect a story immediately as something like this. What we see here.
We know when adamantium's going to matter. It's when Wolverine shows up. When the MCU
came up in Captain America, they're building it.
But even that doesn't matter. It matters when the person whose bones have adamantium in them, and the real one, not an import from another universe, but whoever's going to be the MCU Wolverine, when that guy shows up, that's when it'll start to matter a little bit more. In the meantime, we do have stuff like this where getting Kamala's father was really cool, but Kamala probably, I feel like, might have shown up to help out. That feels like her MO. I also, the thing with Spider-Man, it's such like a Marvel animated shows of the 90s thing. It doesn't need to be Tom Holland in the suit. Literally, they had just shown us,
I said that all the time.
Yeah, if they'd just shown us one of BB's blog videos where he sails through the screen and puts out a fire. I know it's cheap.
There's legalities behind it though.
I know because that's a Sony one.
But you can't say to a person that you are the likeness of this and then swap them out without their permission.
Yeah.
So
I imagine that it's complicated with Spider-Man because he is owned by Sony, but pick any other masked character who could show up.
If we still had Iron Man, I think that Robert Downey Jr. would be more on board.
Well, it's not even the actor. I imagine the contract says they're allowed to do it. I imagine the contract says that if Marvel needs to use the character in like background or some, as long as they don't use the voice, the character can like pass through a scene or something like that.
I think the other thing, though, that we really need to start to get to is that this is the Marvel Universe.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
At some point, we need to start having... No, like, we should not have Spider-Man being faked out by Tom Holland, not being in a suit, making, like, everybody feel silly. Like, we should have other Spider-Men. We should have other characters that are not utilizing the same stupid costume. Like,
that I completely agree with.
We should have other spider characters. We've got Black Tarantula if you want to get less recognizable. Yeah. But I think part of the problem is everybody talks about the cheapening of a lot of these properties. And I think uber cheapening is to keep having Spider-Man show, not Spider-Man in particular, but like Spider-Man is an easy one to point to.
Yeah.
When you could have, like you said, Kamala.
Why don't we introduce Miles through television and build up his character and have him start at street level and build him up to blockbuster? Something like that. There are other characters we can be introducing. We have a very deep bench of superheroes.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I don't, obviously the teams don't talk, but like my first thought this whole thing was like just to see a finesse run through some of this footage, and because we saw Finesse as a Daredevil sidekick through Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I'm now just really in love with that idea and with that pairing. And so that's just a great example of a character that like could be active, might be active in a situation like this, could be on Daredevil because it's already been established on another show that they might hang out together in some, like that's a believable thing. So for me, Finesse is a great example of a character. But like I would have taken the other Defenders. Hey girl, Jessica being around feels very believable to me. Luke being around during the middle of a blackout feels very believable to me. I don't care what happens to Danny. But yeah, just anything. Pull in. I 100% agree that to do a non-Tom Holland Spider-Man is just that is cheap and it's a lame trick. For me, the only reason I suggest is because I feel like they would do it because it's a high profile option. And the only reason I like it is because there's, as I was saying earlier, there's nothing in this that feels like it says this is actually the same universe that Kamala Khan is in, except for the fact that her dad is there. There's nothing that says this is the universe of the Snap. And there's nothing that says to me, this is the universe that Doom Downey Jr. is going to come and fuck up. So it's a fantastic show. It's a lot of fun, but giving it 15% of connective thread to the rest of this thing that they've built doesn't seem like a huge ask.
I completely agree with you. I didn't know if that was like, and so I was giving you the room because I agree. One of the things that actually did dishearten me a little bit, some of the episodes felt like they were trying to cast a really wide net that created a city, right? Like they were so, and obviously the fifth girl is the city. Mm-hmm. I feel like you had your Kingpin, your Queenpin, you had your Daredevil, your Punisher, you had White Tiger, you had Dumb Hot Cop, you had the City, you have the other White Tiger, I guess. You've got these elements, you've got these pieces, but like one of the big things they kind of tried to drive home was they all exist in this city. They all share this space. What you got?
Is Angie a character in the comics?
Denise?
The Asian police captain who is the negotiator
I'd have to really think about
but
it.
no, not a huge one. Clearly,
Yeah, no,
yeah. If you of all people have to think about it, that means that she's not like a big Daredevil character. But that got to be, she was a great character, and again, sort of like your roster in that roster of like what fleshes out the city. They were really like, and then there's the good cops. And you know, she does that. Actor is very good in the hostage episode, in the real criminals were the Irish the whole time episode. And
take your bow, Kevo.
And then the fact that she is one of the few people that is at the bar at the end. It does sort of technically create dimension in saying that there are all kinds of New Yorkers and the city is all things from evil cops to good cops. But that's one dimension. Did we get any other? Can we make the map 2D? Could we make it 3D?
I think you really made an excellent point when we were discussing this season at the midway. And we very quickly dispatched with what we had sort of been led to believe was going to be the season-long villain.
Yeah.
And then ultimately Muse was not. And we had discussed our desire for Muse to perhaps be more of a supernatural character, like in the comics. And even to just any degree. But, it's like you're saying, we're not asking that there be so much to make it connected to the uber cosmic level of the universe, but something to connect it back more. Nico, you were making a point earlier.
And so we build this map of these people, and they keep trying to tell us that these people represent almost like major points. Like if this were a video game, they're trying to say to us, you would have your Muse fight, you would have your Daredevil fights to save, probably. I hate to say that we would be trying to save Heather, but I feel like we would wind up in that position, to be getting her out of the building. You have these tent poles of what New York is in this situation, which is why the declaration of martial law in the end was meant to be an assault on the thing that they all share, indicating that Kingpin actually has achieved a higher status above all of them through his legality. Yet one of the things that is so incredibly important to note is Cherry, one of my favorite characters this season, winds up blending into the background in this episode in favor of Gallo so that Gallo can enter the gallows. And one of the things that I have not felt that bad for a Gallo in a public execution since Vincent Gallo. And so I found myself feeling very much... They utilized the city and then introduced this silly element, this magical place that can't be touched in this way that the rest of the city can. And so my question then does become, what is the value of New York City to these people? Are they here to save the city, or are they here to use it as a base of power? Now, Kingpin, in that moment with, and remember, I love New York.
No, it's never forget. I love it, which to me, incredible, because my whole thing was, up until that moment, I was really doubting the show's writing of him failing. And you get a little bit that the cops are uncomfortable, but they do stand around while he crushes a man's skull in front of them. And like nobody goes... You don't see any sort of like, oh, I can't do this. And so there's no part of it to me, even after that feels like the wheels are coming off the wagon. It is when Wilson says, never forget, I love New York. Two kind of weak slogans anyway, unfortunately. Never forget, obviously, is very important to us, but I think we recognize how that has been co-opted and turned into, even if for you might have a personal connection to 9/11, how never forget has been used.
My uncle was a firefighter who was paralyzed in 9/11, and I'm rolling my eyes.
I love New York. Similarly, just has been absolutely ruined. So Wilson really awkwardly going, never forget, I love New York, with that insane smile. That to me was like, oh, the wheels have come off the wagon because he said that and they let him say it. I have to add, though, that it gets even better because somehow somebody, I don't know who thought this was the right time to do it. I agree that it was. But between scenes, between the shooting and when they go sit down with the city councilors, they upgrade Drake, what's his name? Gandolfini.
Yeah.
Upgrade his hotness by approximately 25. He looks so sexy dressing down the officers, where literally 5 minutes earlier when Wilson is deputizing everybody, he just looks like his same rat fuck self. Yeah, looks like his same rat fuck self here. And then they put him in the conference room and they gave him swag out of nowhere. So somebody is clearly paying enough attention to be like, Wilson's got to look like shit in this moment so that we see the wheels coming off the wagon, but we are still upgrading other characters because that's going to be important for character journey. And that was some of the shit that I was like, this is not, if this episode is not perfect, it's still doing some damn fine stuff.
Well, and you know, that is where I do want to just kind of get a little, so I give this whole season an A-, but I give this finale a B- at best because I don't want to spoil things because a lot of stuff is set footage. So I don't want to spoil stuff, right? But, you know, first of all, when people say, oh, you're just mad because it's not exactly what was in the comics, I'm like,
that's so not Nico.
Yeah.
You could level
Get
that
out of
at
here.
you could level that at me, absolutely, for certain things. I don't care about this, so I'm that's not my criticism, but that is, you know, that I would stand in front of that one for you any day, because that's just not something you ever have complained about. If it works for the story as presented, you will be happy with it. It never needs to mirror the comics.
No, and that's why it doesn't bother me that, reasonably speaking, to address something, if you noticed at the end of the episode that it also seemed like some upstanding citizens were trapped in cages in a building in the Freeport area of New York, that is a reference to Daredevil Shadowland, where the big improvement here is that Matt did this originally.
In the comics, Matt does it.
Yeah, and then it's revealed that he's possessed by Snake Root, which, okay, let's talk for a minute about Snake Root and things I'm glad they never did. That's the whole conversation. To move on, this is a vast improvement, because if anybody has ever wanted to be the Hands Golden Boy other than Matt, it is Wilson, who has been like, hand love me, and they're always like, no, you're very murderable.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, this is really interesting because it is pieces of Devil's Reign and it's pieces of Shadowland.
And pieces of Mayor Fisk and pieces of oh my god, it's the most offensive story in the world. The giant, oversized, mega roided out white African king.
Oh yeah.
Who comes and make all of the women smell him and are so sexually taken by him they leave their husbands for him.
Yeah.
I just can't think of his name.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. Wait, hasn't the character appeared?
No, they've used things around him.
Haven't they used the name?
They might. I can't. It's so embarrassing that I can't remember his name.
I know. I'll look it up while I monologue for a little bit. So I mean, this is pulling together a few things, and you are right. Like the image of
Micah Sin.
Thank you. Yes.
Excuse me.
And it came up recently for some. It came up for something with the show. When you talk next, I'm gonna go look it up. But the image of people in cages immediately recalls Shadowland, but immediately it's different because Wilson has done it, which is like it's such an interesting Uno reverse situation, because Matt doing it in the first place is Matt essentially becoming the kingpin, you know, Matt becoming a villain, Matt doing the things in Shadowland that his enemies would have done, and everybody thinking, oh no, Matt's really gone crazy, Matt's gone evil because he's doing the type of stuff that Wilson would do. Then we get to this show where Wilson is doing the thing that Matt did when Matt was doing the stuff that Wilson would have done if Wilson had thought of it first. So I really I love the playing lyrically with the themes of Daredevil and playing around with what has been woven into the fabric of the Daredevil universe through the comics, even if you don't do it the way the comics did it. Because I think it would have taken a while, and it just would have been its own journey to get Matt to the point of being the kingpin of Hell's Kitchen, which has happened in the past, to being, to creating Shadowland, all of the various times that Matt has broken bad. It would have taken a while to get to. I don't know that it would have been super satisfying, but for the most part, and I have a critique once I say I like it, but watching Wilson and Vanessa arm in arm, the happiest they've ever been, strut through that catwalk of prisoners to walk down to their private dining room cell area where they just finally are in lockstep, while Radiohead's Everything in Its Right Place plays in the background. We're going to talk about the music too. Just absolutely phenomenal scene work. And I simply don't think we could have gotten there in this season. It's disturbing. It's beautiful. It feels, again, it's lyrical. It feels...
Oh, I mean, lyrical. Tom York's music is the definition of lyrical. Yeah. And I have to assume that that was quite literally the most expensive part of the entire season. The second I heard the feedback, my jaw dropped. I mean, you had already mentioned there was going to be a crazy song, and I hear the feedback, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh, okay. No, I mean, part of why that struck me is because please point to another significant piece of music in Daredevil that is not Bring Me to Life.
Oh, well, My Immortal, but anyway.
Well,
all this time, I can't believe I couldn't see.
This season, doing TV on the radio, Staring at the Sun.
Okay, true.
I mean, so my only thing being, they picked really great music, but then also it insanely is targeted at our demographic. Radiohead, but Kid A Radiohead, TV on the radio, Magnetic Fields.
When you... Just to add the thing, you remember because you're you, but Kid A was the second record of a collection of demos that had famously kind of leaked, and the first record came out and it was OK Computer, right? And the first record came out, it was OK Computer, and it was very, very good, but a lot of my favorite songs did not make it onto that. They were eventually on Kid A. Kid A represented one of the greatest moments in music getting its second chance.
And what's funny about that
is Born Again is.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I mean, there was such a conscious choice to pick music that again, Charlie Cox is our age. Matt is a millennial who was probably born in the late 80s, early 90s. It's just really funny because we've talked about some of this when it comes to the demographics of who reads the comics. And I do believe that the strongest demographic buying comics, with disposable income, who spends it on comics, is probably exactly the same demographic that watches Daredevil and knows TV on the radio, Magnetic Fields, and Radiohead's Everything in Its Right Place from life, from experiencing when those songs came out. I saw TV on the radio so many times the year that album came out. I saw Staring at the Sun played live so many times. So that moment really hit me, and it just, the creative team, I feel really knew who the energetic audience behind this show was going to be. And it is literally the demographic that you are looking at right here, probably heterosexual, but for the most part, we check most of the boxes. And so, I mean, I was so fascinated by all of that. I want to take it all the way back to why I brought up Kid A in the first place, which was the amazing scene of Wilson and Vanessa strutting down to go eat their meal, King and Queen Pin, together and doing their thing. Everything in its right place, everything disturbing, amazing, perfect, except this is all happening because Wilson went away. And Wilson got his sins eaten by the native peoples and the powers of Maya Lopez. Where the fuck is it? What happened? Why did it deteriorate?
TK,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I have the power to erase cocaine from your memory.
Am I still gonna go after it? No, I mean, yes, of course I am. There are so many good explanations for why he turns back into Wilson. I just want to talk about it. All I want is exactly what just happened. I want Buck.
Well, I want to see her again too. I would love to see her in season 2.
I would have liked her to be part of the bar.
Down. She kind of needs to come back. It's actually not even fully a question, because it's not a question that her story and her show not only affected Wilson, but literally was the most necessary part of setting up all of this. More necessary than anything from Daredevil, the TV show. All that was necessary from Daredevil, the TV show, is that it existed.
Yep.
We need to see Maya again, for sure.
I fully understand contractually, in terms of lack of interest and money, why we did not see Vera Farmiga this season. I would have liked to see Vera Farmiga this season. I probably would have paid John Bernthal for one less episode to put Vera Farmiga in a cage for 20 seconds worth of shooting. I probably would have asked Haley Steinfeld if we could throw her in a cage. Where is she? I mean, again, all these people plausibly
She's busy. Oh, no, that's Millie Bobby Brown is busy tilling the fields. I'm sorry.
No, but I love that. And I not only love that, but I love the idea of seeing her in a cage and also not really getting an answer as to how she might have gotten out and is out and other people are still in cages. Like Nico pointed out that he would have loved to see Matt break out Frank. And my point was, if Matt goes there, no one is staying there. The entire place is shutting down. He's not getting Frank out.
He can't hang out. He can't grab one guy. Yeah.
But Kate would only break herself out and would also leave her mom behind. Totally.
Yeah, would run and be like, I'll come back for you. I'll figure it out. But
I'll come back for you, wink.
Yeah. I mean, Kate and Maya, I mean, again, Kate in the cage, I think all three of them in the cage would have been really just a good nod to the fact that this is all, again, a cohesive universe. Even the on-the-ground, less sci-fi aspects are a cohesive universe. So just getting them in there would have been cool. But I also would have accepted Kate and Maya at the bar, because there's like randomly just two lady cops. For one thing, why are the two lady cops like the only people that care are women? I would have much rather
older man who is retired from, because was he a cop and now he's retired?
Yeah, he was a detective and he's retired. So
he is absolutely just meant to be a stand-in for Cole North, and it makes me so fucking angry. He's not just.
So we need a hot young cop to be.
Well, Frank didn't kill Cole, right?
No.
Yeah, I think we're getting. I think they planted. They left themselves the option of having Cole later, and it's pretty much exactly how, it's exactly Cole coming up through the
Cherry Cola.
Too.
This savage garden we lay.
But yeah, I would have really liked to have gotten a cameo at the bar. I think it would have been really cool to see Jessica, Maya, Kate, any combination, Patsy.
Oh my God! Season 1 Patsy, sure.
Season 1 Patsy. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm also waiting for the first thing where it's like, this is definitively different from what happened in the Netflix universe, and I do think it would be really fun if it was just Patsy didn't go crazy.
Yeah.
So we've mentioned that we are doing. Oh, that's like the most erotic image I've ever seen. We've mentioned that we are doing a complete Will and Grace watch through on some of our other channels. But like one of the things that's important to note is that Comet as creators are dramatists in like a Neil Simon kind of way at their heart, and
Yes.
I'm literally going to change my life to just study the structure of how they write television. It's like literally one of the most exciting things I've ever seen, and one of the things that they do better than any sitcom I've ever seen in my life is the way they can make human drama so natural, so real. And then they did this thing when the show came back. They erased about a year and a half of canon. And the reboot treats parts of that final year and a half of the original show as one of Karen's drunk episodes. And it's just what she remembers. And they correct her. And then they go forward with it. And the show is stronger for it because we get some really grounded realism for Karen in season 3 and 4. But by season 8, she is literally, and I'm not making this up, an ancient creature that has been around for 400 years. Very funny, but doesn't work.
Yeah.
And if I may point out, and I looked it up because I wasn't sure, and it was literally Roseanne returned to the same television season just in the spring and did the same exact thing. All of the stuff of they won the lottery and had a heart attack, all of that was erased.
Roseanne's fantasy.
Yeah. And especially in a comic book world, you know, I don't need anything to necessarily be erased so much as I'm curious to learn what we are going to say was significant enough to continue to matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this is already a multiverse. Like, it's already established. We're already taking other universe properties that this company owns and establishing that they are their own universe. That is why we're getting the X-Men back in the ways that we're getting them back. That's why we've already gotten them back in the ways we've gotten them back. It's why Daredevil exists.
You know, I'm so sorry. This is going to ruin everything. But if somebody said to me tomorrow, Nico, what is your dream X-Men project? I would want to do something that explores how the rest of the Marvel Universe could sub in for the X-Men. Whether it's Daredevil being Cyclops with his Billy Club and his undulation, or it's Daredevil filling in for Beast as the team acrobat, or it's somebody like Moondragon filling in for Jean Grey. The value of what the X-Men represent to the Marvel Universe and then how they're being pulled into the MCU paralleled with this resurgence of Daredevil is so significant that they're at the same time. I can't help but imagine the next 10 years of Daredevil and X-Men are going to be on intertwined paths.
It'll be really interesting to see because in some ways it really feels like Daredevil is just getting going. But also, again, something we've talked about, Vincent D'Onofrio can't be doing this in 15 years probably.
No.
And the kids that are about to be playing Scott Summers and Jean Grey will be warmed up in 15. They will have just been warmed up in 15 years. So are we resetting Daredevil before, at the same time that we restart the X-Men? Or are we doing them at different times? How much Daredevil are we getting?
It's what made what happened with the Black Panther franchise so fascinating that we now have a young T'Challa where we can now have a adult T'Challa Black Panther back in like 8 to 10 years.
Less.
So that's already, like you're saying, it's not going to be, I mean, it wouldn't have been no matter what, unfortunately, but it's not going to be Chadwick Boseman same way that if they do a new Iron Man, it's not going to be Robert Downey Jr. necessarily far in the future. But yeah, no, it's thinking about that longevity. Yeah.
I think part of the thing to talk about is the fact that not everybody at 40 looks like TK and could play 24 if they wanted. Some people at, I was mentioning that there is a certain breed of bodybuilder that, due to the nature of what cycling might do if you push it a little too far, it ages you. And there are people that are they're 3 and 4 years younger than TK and I that are like world famous stunt actors and bodybuilders that look 15, 20 years older than us. And it's that over-under. Robert Downey Jr. unfortunately came in on the wrong side of old. And so he aged older and now is trying to look younger, and he looks handsome and amazing. I'm very happy for him. I'm not insulting him.
You know, he looks fantastic, but he doesn't look young. Like, he doesn't look young for his age, and he can't fake being... Anytime, if he tried to show up with 24-year-old Avengers, it would be so, how do you do, fellow kids?
And at the same time, Charlie Cox is just young enough where he's never gonna look old. This man is absolutely aging like Legos on the secondary market. He is only worth more every year.
Yeah. But it can change at a dime. And, you know, I mean, I agree. I think he looks fantastic. I think he still feels like Matt. But again, 15 years from now, I don't know what we're talking about. And I do know what we're talking about with Wilson. So, you know,
Charlie Cox is the age now that Robert Downey Jr. was at the start of the MCU.
Right.
Huh.
Wow. Huh. And, you know, Tony is basically supposed to be the oldest, most mature one. You know, he is supposed to be older. So, you know, I don't quite know what we're doing with Matt. I don't know if we're going to be rebooting this part of the universe, when we would be doing that, which is why I'm so like, let's make sure we get other people in, so that we can see some of that interplay. I'm glad we're looking at this now. For one thing, he looks so good with the beard,
the hair, like,
and the hair. Yeah,
my older boyfriend Rich has like the longest hair right now. It's
Did he still not cut it?
No, he this is something he does every couple of years. He donates it all to charity, and he it's something he loves to do because he can grow his hair so long.
Yeah.
I did like this though.
That is much more my style, but it's one of the things that actually I want to just point out makes this so valuable, because oftentimes sitcoms are striving to create an identicality. That's one of the things we talked about a lot with Drag Race, where they seek so hard to make sure the confessionals never show age. They want to be able to produce 9 action figures. So they need him with long hair, short hair, no beard, beard with both. They need that value. And he is such a versatile faced actor, like TK, like where he has that ability to kind of move through styles, and it never makes him look like he's trying to look young. It looks appropriate on his face.
I will say though, the knee-length leather duster, seeing this image, No, he looks like Spike, and he acts like Spike, and he sounds like Spike, and he treats Matt's Angel like Spike. It's not an exact, but oh my god, the way that it hit me when I saw him in this. And he keeps coming around, even though Matt makes fun of him for being his friend. You made this point.
Captain America is both of their sire. Oh my god.
When we were watching, you were like, why can't you just be his friend? And I was like, Frank is his friend. That's as friend as Frank gets. He showed up, didn't he? Karen didn't ask him to do this part.
Nobody gets my love for Punisher quite the way TK has, like, I want to say, appropriately adjusted his moral compass, which was already scary, but he has adjusted it as necessary. Can I just, like, the wholesale murder last night on Disney Plus?
This is where I appreciate the thing you said to me was, this is really showing us that Disney Plus does not mean sanitized. And I did appreciate that, because I think it is something, as soon as we found out that Disney was acquiring Marvel, because Marvel was doing productions and we knew that some of them would get grittier, that became a question of, like, can the company of Mickey Mouse tolerate even the highest level of violence Captain America would tolerate? Feels unlikely, right? And then, you know, they built the brand. The Avengers were always I thought, a little more violent, again, more violent than I would have thought Disney could tolerate, but still pretty within bounds. And then they started building Disney Plus, and we started seeing, they were letting the Netflix shows happen on Netflix so that they wouldn't be a Disney brand. And, the question when the Netflix shows ended was, is this just, we're never going to see stuff like this again because Disney can't do it? Is Disney Plus going to have any value as a streaming service if they can never do shows that are more violent than an Avengers movie? I don't really think so. And, they have really gone out of their way to show over time that while they understand implicitly and explicitly the Mickey Mouse brand, the Disney brand, and they are comfortable keeping that safe and stewarding that brand for children to live lives of non-violence and joy and sweetness and cuteness, they're capable of stewarding other properties too and saying that we can own both of them and they can live on the same streaming service. And, you parents are going to have to figure out how to set the parental controls and make sure your kids aren't watching Daredevil if they're supposed to be watching Bluey.
And, the other side of it is nobody is trying to say that we're creating Amistad Maupin's Little Tales of the Crib City. Like, nobody is making... Like,
I mean, I want that, but yeah.
You
shouldn't have said that. That was too good an example.
There were annoying 1 Million Mom, whatever they call, whatever.
Yeah. There's always going to be
headlines recently because there's, I forget who is in it, where it's some drama and a woman's dying, so she's all about sex before she dies.
It's
Mrs. Heath Ledger, Michelle Williams.
Oh, Michelle Williams.
Not
the one you're thinking of.
It's in the banner. If you have that in your algo and you don't have child safety locks on, and people tried to complain that Disney is pushing sex, and it's like, no, that's not what's happening. And you need to stop blaming people for you not knowing how to use your product, because they had V chips when we were kids. The parental settings have always existed, and you choosing not to have it on there does not mean that they don't get to advertise adult content when that's what they have.
And just, Disney got tested themselves and got tested a lot over the last 20 years regarding, can they be the Disney of Disney World and also be the Disney that owns Marvel, that owns Star Wars, that owns ABC,
that owns fiction.
That owns Hulu. And the answer is yes. The answer is we're going to want the stuff anyway. And the people that want to think life is Disney-fied, meaning they don't have to take responsibility for the content that they consume or that they let their kids consume, that is a loud group of people, but it is a minority. And even those people ultimately, though they might Million Moms March complain, still want to go to Disney World and still want to watch the shows, and their kids still want to watch Moana 2. So even if they bitch and moan about the Michelle Williams sex show, they're going to end up taking their kids to Moana 2.
And to add to that, there are people who are going to say, yeah, but it was still Disney. I didn't get a cap. There was a cap of the head thing. I wasn't going to have that on our show or on my hard drive. But there are people who are going to be like, yeah, but it was Disney. It's not the same. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. Because there's people who will always complain that it came from the mouse. Right. And that's fine, too. Because those people keep coming back even though they say they won't. So you could leave if you didn't want to watch.
I am making this up, and I know I am making a false statement, but please, by all means, tell me the difference between the original film Crash and Emmanuel in Space. I'll wait, because, there isn't! It's about a vehicle and fucking, and that's it. And, one is art and one is pornography, and I accept that because, I own a copy of Lost Girls. So I accept this, but, the truth of the matter is, I make a lot of funny comments about things that I find, a turn on or whatever. But the actual truth is, I find human kindness the most incredible turn on in the world. But I make, because there are cerebral elements that I enjoy about Wilson's violence It echoes things about the sort of necessary give and take of sadomasochism in society. That is the hallmark of how we accept the suit and cane as parts of Daredevil. You know what I mean? So Wilson's car moment is, for what it is in terms of television and in a Penn Badgley U world, erotic. And the head moment isn't. And there's an intentionality behind that. The sexualization of Wilson is in that his grandiose passion and obsession belies a desire to do better, right? And it's this obsessive need to create the perfect world. But crushing someone's head, the amount of time it took, the onlookers, this was a moment that determined that he can no longer be sexualized, which is why the moment with Vanessa is literally celibate. This is no longer a couple who has passion. This is a couple who has business. And
the lesbian bed death of power.
Yes. And
wow.
This is the next iteration of House of Cards. This is the next iteration of that story of power that you were mentioning in Game of Thrones. And one of the things that I thought was so important was that they gave this moment to two such incredible actors. These two actors didn't just command the stage, command the scene. There were scenes with genuinely bad dialogue. There were scenes with no dialogue. And these two actors were, I don't know, they told the story like the sun and the moon tell me when it's day and night. And I was so grateful to that exploration, that depth. There were moments that I genuinely thought, like, as an artist, I will never achieve what Vincent D'Onofrio achieved in last night's episode. The intimacy, the vulnerability, there were moments that were not attractive. They were bad. I hated watching them because they were an incredible actor making a real person ugly as hell.
Well, and that's why I jumped right to Never Forget I Love New York.
Yes.
It's so good. He just so fails the test. That right there is, if he was gonna have it together and truly villainize and truly dominate his villainy, he would have had a great speech prepared to further hoodwink everybody. And he caps it off with something so lame that, again, it's how you know the wheels are coming off the wagon. It's so ugly. And it's not, it's not like, oh, whoops, they failed to make it threatening. This is how they're showing you. We are already past the end game, past the moment of, we're already past the end of Empire Strikes Back. We're into the next part where you start to see some of the problems with the Empire that the rebels are going to be able to exploit. Go for it, Kevo.
It would feel a little tone deaf not to at least point a little to, a lot of the Cage stuff, a lot of everything, a lot of Wilson's very clearly pointing to a lot of the stuff that's going on right now. It makes this art a little bit different because, like you're saying, I think that is a great point, and that is leading into season 2, where we will start to see probably Wilson's downfall and where it goes next. It's a tough thing to watch right now in the world because we don't know that there's going to be a season 2 to our story in that terms. So using a story like that for Daredevil and representing it that way, it did give me some anxiety. It did affect the way that I consumed the story, and it did put into my mind as I was watching it, I don't know where I'm going to be when season 2 does drop. So, that was something that I am ultimately not sure how I'm going to feel. And that is the risk always of using something that is so brazenly pulled from direct headlines affecting our world, as opposed to just, sort of taking from things that you're seeing around you.
Well, it's interesting because I was really annoyed by the comparisons when the season started, because Wilson is not in like, the thing that's so frustrating about the world that we live in is our dictator is really incompetent and really stupid and embarrassing, and says they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, and then we turn that into a dance meme because it's so stupid. JD Vance is not Buck, and he's not the other one.
That is not Buck.
There's nothing you can do to suddenly like give him a good haircut and JD Vance seems sexy. Like there's no Sheila in the administration. There's nobody who seems competent and conflicted. They are all so stupid and embarrassing, and it's just sad that they got where they're. What?
Kevo, please go back an image.
The poster.
What?
Oh my God! The review in the background is for Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you not notice that?
You know what? It's like, look, price lock guarantee,
Yeah.
Levi's. There are so many real things in the background.
Right.
The dedication.
Rogers is a soaring, smashing, flying, fighting musical triumph. Eventually, we are going to have to watch the half-hour California Adventure musical special. If it is on YouTube. I can't
imagine how much ketamine they gave Liz Smith to say that.
So yeah, I mean, like it really annoyed me when the season started because it was like it just wasn't. They're both villains. Trump and Fisk are both villains, but Trump is so embarrassing and stupid and incompetent, and it's just sad that we ever got there. The whole point when the show starts is Wilson is firing on all cylinders. He is at the top of his whatever game it is, villainy or otherwise. He didn't pratfall his way into this. He didn't say stupid quotes and somehow people are like, no, but I still like him. He was really smart and shrewd, and his wife was really smart and shrewd, and they figured it out. And it only starts to feel to me like what we're living in this episode, specifically again when he says never forget I love New York, because that's when he starts to sound like President Trump to me. Go for it, Kevo.
Nico, thank you for encouraging me to look deeper at this screen cap, and as I zoomed in on Rogers, I saw this, and that's why I zoomed in on it. Guys, this is the soda from The Incredible Hulk in 2008.
Oh my God.
This is the soda
so
at the factory where Ed Norton is working, and it's the Stan Lee cameo. Hold on, I can bring that image up real quick. That'll be a good one to use for it.
While you're bringing stuff up, if you could bring up Micah Sin when you get a moment.
But it's Pingo Dingo soda or something. Yeah, and this is what you wanted everyone to see this.
Well, hey, as long as it's not Slusho.
That's Micah Sin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, holy shit. Great.
I want to make sure we talk about. Oh, why am I?
I was just messaging you. I was like, "Hey, you're so sexy. Please get back on camera. We want people to watch."
No idea what happened there. We got to talk about Frank. I mean, we talked about how hot he is, and that's tough to deny.
And check out my Blue Sky. He is my celebrity therapist.
Yeah, I did see that. Hey buddy, good lord, fuck you, John Bernthal.
This is old though. This is like at least 8 years old.
Yeah.
He's definitely my third favorite iteration of the Punisher ever.
What's 1 and 2?
Number 1 is Punisher Max. Number 2 is Jason Aaron, and yeah.
You're counting comics.
Yeah, I was like, is Tom? Okay, Tom Jane.
The other day, Tom Jane is just like, who here hasn't just had sex with men while they're in Hollywood? It's good.
I'm like 80% sure Thomas Jane is from America. Hold on.
Me too.
No, he's British.
Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah. Tom Hardy definitely said that.
All right.
Attended high school in Rockville, Maryland.
Yeah.
I was on Hung. I guess not correct. All right.
Did not realize he was married to Patricia Arquette.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Go team.
Good for her.
So, okay.
Yeah, Frank in a cage.
I still think Dario Scartapani loves this guy too much and thinks he's right and thinks he's good, and wants to have his cake and eat it too. And it makes me really, I don't know what to do with it. I really appreciated the complexity of Punisher killing police Punishers who were coming to kill Daredevil, but were willing to kill the Punisher. It's like all of the best dominoes from the Aaron run, but not set up quite right. I don't know. I really I need to fucking tie Dario Scarpani to a chair like Frank Castle and have this fucking talk with him, because he really gives me the vibe of somebody who thinks that like the Punisher's vigilante, I will do anything to stop criminals thing is somewhat commendable. Like, you know, he gets why it can't work, but thinks it's somewhat commendable, you know, somewhat worthy of understanding. And I don't quite know what to do with the Punisher in this show. It seems like he is treated with a little too much love and respect.
And I think you should be the one to disrespect him. Go ahead.
I'm trying to all day long. John Bernthal, call me.
Call him.
I can't do it any better than Jason Aaron did. But you know, what's really wild is until we started talking about Shadowland, I never really thought about how pretty close Shadowland and the Aaron run really are in terms of like, whoops, Matt and Frank got hoodwinked by the hand and are now doing stupid shit and are way in over their heads and are like maybe kind of possessed. Frank was less possessed than Matt was. But
wow, no, they had yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yet another way you take something that I grew up absorbing.
Well, that's the thing, is you have to have. I just have such a different perspective.
It's so cool.
But I mean, again, like I only get it because of you, like because we do this stuff together. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know what to do. I'll be so interested to see the special presentation Punisher. You know, I can tell that John Bernthal likes this character. I can tell that Dario Scarpani loves this character. And I can tell that Jason Aaron loved the character. That run is written with so much thought and love. So love doesn't have to mean that you think the character is right or that you want to, or that you think their actions are commendable, but it does mean that you want to tell a story about them. And Aaron always never for a second made me think he thought that Frank was right or commendable, even though he really taps into the emotion of how Frank got there from his past. I feel like these guys are kind of saying he's right a little bit. And it really, really frustrates me.
And I think that, KEVO, I'm sorry.
No, if you had something, go ahead.
You just said, I think that's even part of the problem when you're discussing the Punisher now. Part of what automatically becomes the discussion is what version of the Punisher, whose identity for this character, and I mean, what's the intent?
It's my, like, you know, where were you on January 6th? What do you think about the Punisher? You know, if you tell me that you are a Marvel fan and that you have any interest in the Punisher, I'm like, okay, what Punisher? What do you mean by that? What are you talking about? Tell me.
And what I was going to say, and ties into that insofar as something I'm thinking about is, you know, John Bernthal is now, like Charlie Cox, been playing this character forever. Dario was a writer on Punisher. Are they going to stay with this character indefinitely?
Right.
We know that we're getting the Punisher special.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we are under the impression that he's going to be in season 2 of Daredevil.
Yes.
What is the plan for some of these characters or actors or writers? How long are they going to be with this project? how long is it going to be only their voice and not someone else giving us a different perspective and story on Punisher? And are we beholden then to what John Barenthal has made it very clear how personally he feels about his character? But the Punisher is a character, and if Marvel Studios wanted to tell a different story and John Barenthal fought them, I don't want to see the fallout of a situation like that. So, that is also the downfall of this going on for so long. It's exciting in some ways, but it's also, how long are we going to keep with this story too?
It's part of where I feel particularly beholden to the MCU schedule. Sony has such a weird, unique influence on this whole cycle. When Sony says, no, we want Spider-Man to be here, Marvel changes everything, which makes me wonder how much of this Daredevil is a result of Sony's machinations on Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, a very fair question.
They share all the same villains. They share all the same side characters. So one of the things that winds up happening is, great, Daredevil got Kingpin because Kingpin is a Daredevil villain, but at the same time, look at Into the Spider-Verse, one of the most successful Spider-Man projects of all time, where Kingpin is such a humongous presence. I personally think that one of the things that we are facing is a conflict of identity for characters like Spider-Man and Daredevil. Miles Morales is as important to the identity of Spider-Man as is Peter Parker, and at the same time, Charlie Cox, he kind of changed what we think of Daredevil. We thought of Daredevil as, that silly Ben Affleck movie, but culturally speaking, Daredevil is now a legitimate character as a result of this interpretation.
Yeah. And to what you were saying, it's the reason why I'm like, well, why isn't Spider-Man just swinging through? Because he does feel like the biggest person that's at all attached to Daredevil. And again, it just is like, who else is on the street in New York that otherwise it's a full spectacle? Because if Wilson says, we're under martial law, and the Avengers show up out of Avengers Tower, this is now a movie. This is a completely different thing. Even if really the Thunderbolts show up, this is now a movie. It's a completely different thing. But like Luke, Jessica, again, finesse. Like, it doesn't have to be. There's so many different people it could be right now. It's just a bummer not to get any of them.
Yes.
And as excited as White Tiger made me at the beginning of this season, I said at the beginning of the season, if we are only introducing White Tiger to be this martyr figure, and then we're not going to start seeing other heroes, that's really obnoxious. It was great when Wilson mentioned Spider-Man by not name. But we specifically not just want, but kind of need to see other street level heroes somehow come into this. Otherwise, that really was a very hollow story. You only touted out a hero to kill them and never do anything with another street level hero on this show again. We don't need to make it seem like there's a cavalcade who should always be assisting Matt. But you have now established very immediately that there are other heroes like them. And so if you don't start showing them at the very beginning of season 2, that's going to feel weird.
Well, and it's also always been like Matt, the keeper of Hell's Kitchen, which is like 4 blocks and 2, it's like 4 streets and 2 avenues. It's like the smallest slice of New York. So it's like, okay, if we assume every neighborhood in Manhattan has one, and then we include the other boroughs, it's like, okay, White Tiger has the Upper West Side. Jessica's taken the Upper East Side. Silk has Chinatown. I mean, who the fuck knows? That's racist. I shouldn't have gone with Silk having Chinatown. Silk can have the NYU area.
You're not saying it. It's unfortunately the way the Marvel Cinematic.
Yeah, they would. Well, here you go. Shang-Chi right now. The 5 weapons. Shang-Chi's 5 weapons house is in Chinatown. So there you go. There's that. You really could have like 28 heroes on the Isle of Manhattan if Daredevil is the keeper of Hell's Kitchen and somebody else is approximately keeping every other neighborhood. It would be extremely funny if Wilson was the hero of the financial district. So we should at least be able to get somebody.
And I think the billboard that I pointed to that was really cool and exciting that I loved illustrates that there are ways in which you can address this. And maybe there's even Easter eggs that we miss. There's been Easter eggs, like in She-Hulk, there was an Easter egg referencing not the adamantium itself, but the celestial coming out of the ocean. So that was a small thing, but we need bolder things. If we could see a strong headline that pointed to Doctor Strange not here to comment on what is going on in New York City. That is a major hero, and he could be off doing something cosmic, and that's why we don't see him. But if we could maybe see a headline pointing to Doctor Strange missing amid all this chaos,
well, or,
that would really help point out that this is this wide universe.
Wong or somebody comes and says, like, this is clearly crazy, but this isn't what the Sorcerer Supreme does. Like, you guys have to figure this one out for yourself. If people came in and used magic powers every time there was a stupid leader, you guys wouldn't have free will. Like, there are a ton of ways to do. The point being, like, we could address, like, again, it doesn't have to be Doctor Strange. It doesn't even have to be Wong. There are disciples all over the world. It could be anybody dressed in one of those outfits who was, fighting Scarlet Witch. Like, it can be any student from the Summertage Academy.
Yes. Excellent, important point. Thank you.
And just somebody comes in and Matt says, why do I have no help? And this person says, like, listen, I can heal you. Again, another great way to justify how Matt could be fighting at all with a bullet through his chest. One of Doctor Strange's disciples comes through, heals Matt, and says, like, we can't do much more than this because we have to let you guys make your own mistakes, but you're part of the Marvel universe. Like, if it ever gets to this level or something, call us. I don't know. There's ways to do it, but just like, this was such an interesting season. It really was so good.
Someplace that was done very well, I felt, was Falcon and Winter Soldier when they used the Dora Milaje early. It was only there so they could set up what would literally be the Deus Ex Machina of vibranium wings for the final act. But if you just have the part where they show up and leave, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about these little things that you can throw in where you don't need to pull down movie stars, but you've established there's a wide cast from those types of characters.
And that's I think, part of the nature of what they're doing with this bigger picture of the MCU and the Netflix iteration. Like, I love the idea that we could see Jess, we could see Iron Fist, we could see Luke Cage, but I'm a little bit more excited about what we could see from a young White Tiger, what we could see from new characters that could maybe fill this out. I'm a big fan of Finesse generally, and so seeing her in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was so exciting, but seeing a live action version of her could totally change the game for this character for a lot of people who are perhaps maybe a little bit non-social the way she is. I also just want to say, Kev, Andrew, Break Yourself, I love all of you guys joining in the conversation. I was, in fact, at the Staten Island Mall this past week. I picked up it's just out of view, but there's a record right behind me that I picked up there. Had an amazing time. So funny enough, I got it at Newberry Comics, which I only know about because of TK. Let me tell you, one of my favorite places I've ever been to. This chain of stores is amazing. I got a Tori Amos album there on Record Store Day. I had an amazing time. What a cool opportunity. Also, Break Yourself. I don't hate Heather Glenn. I see the psychiatrist's girlfriend. I don't like that she's her job and not a real person. Oh, Kevo, thank you so much for putting up the Newberry Comics bag.
Newberry Comics whose slogan used to be, is no longer is, but their slogan used to be, for a wicked good time.
No, it still is. It's on everything.
Oh, wow.
In Staten Island. Yeah, no. And like when I brought that bag home, my mom went, is that from is that chain from Boston? And I was like, yeah, they are. And she was like, oh, that's so cool that they kept that.
Yeah. I guess I should say, I thought that because it used to be their radio ad. And now I never hear the radio ads anymore. Break Yourself, NICO especially has a ton of experience with Daredevil comics, and so knows Heather Glenn, the comic character, really well. And so when we talk about critiquing a character like Heather, we really like the setup for Heather. And Heather, the comic character, is a fantastic character who never got her due. And I think we were really excited when this show started because it felt like, okay, thanks to the woke agenda, she's at least not gonna just get fridged.
Yes,
she's at
woke
least
agenda.
Yeah. She's at least, whatever happens, she's at least not just going to be a loss for Matt's pathos. Awesome. Interesting character. Love that she fights with Matt. Love that she, as a psychiatrist, can see psychologically Matt has problems. And the moment, I can't remember if it was 2 episodes ago or just last episode, where she and Matt are fighting and she says, I really hate to do this, and then offers a psychological take on what Matt is saying to her. Because she's not his therapist and she doesn't want to therapize Matt when they're having an intimate conversation. That's not her job. And that's not, when you work in mental health, that's not what you do.
Of all people, you would be able to speak to the quality of having a partner with that kind of presence of mind.
Right, exactly. And that is something that my partner and I do face. And while my partner is able through their experience to communicate with me in a certain way, they, when it comes to matters where the professional side is seeping through, they're very careful about that. Heather has that amazing moment. And then basically after that, it is this really weird downhill slide where, she has an interesting concern about vigilantes, again, because she's a therapist, because she has questions about why somebody would do this and why somebody would feel the need to hide behind a mask. As a therapist, as a professional, she's got concerns. That all was really cool to me. And then it just lined up with Wilson in this weird way and turned against Matt in this weird way really fast, where she just became so much the therapist and so not a person. And then the episode, there was just too much happening for the episode to really reckon with that. So I think I'm in this place of bated breath with her till next season, where we see if she actually gets to process all of this, or if she just kind of becomes a right-hand man to Wilson in hating, vigilantes, but with a degree in psychology.
Could she be this Devil's Reigns Moonstone? There are so many possessives in there. I'm so sorry, KEVO, you go.
I was thinking about her earlier because I can definitely see where people might not like her. And Break Yourself points to the potential of, her just as a plot device. And yes and no. She really strikes me as the kind of character who it's very thin, and a lot of the strength of the character boils down to actor and performance. We love this actor from Revenge. She was amazing in seasons 1 and 2. We thought she was great. So seeing her here again was amazing. And I think for us, that actually made me enjoy her more. But she's not a super insanely well-known actor, so I don't know that everyone would feel the same way about her. And I don't know that a stronger actor might not have gotten a better, stronger reaction. It's really tough, especially in comparison to everything that they did accomplish with Karen Page, where her character was beloved despite being weak, and through this show was given new strength. Like you said, you guys already liked Heather Glenn, so you didn't need that. What you needed from her was actually a more vindicating story. So hopefully the path she's on will lead to something stronger and better. But I don't know.
I absolutely love, Nico, that you brought up Moonstone, because we're about to just not get Moonstone. I'm so bummed about it. This Thunderbolts movie looks so fantastic to me. I really am excited for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I just wish it were called
anything else.
or it were the third one. If we got 2 Thunderbolts movies that were the concept of the original Thunderbolts, and then this one, which is called Thunderbolts Asterisk, it would be really funny, because what we've seen over the last 30 years is, after we did the original Thunderbolts theme, and then they got a few different runs, it looks more like what the cast of the movie is going to be, and that's something that came before the movie was coming out. So, we've had, Fisk had Thunderbolts when he was Mayor Fisk, and they were all villains. And then when Luke Cage became mayor, we got Thunderbolts again, and it was a bunch of street level heroes. There was a Power Man in it. There was one of the Purple Children. There was NICO's and My Shared Boyfriend, Guts and Glory. And it was a great team, but it came with the asterisk, because the original Thunderbolts are this group of villains that tricked everybody into thinking they were heroes, and that is a core concept and twist of the original Thunderbolts name, and it's a great one. It's iconic comics history. It also introduces a bunch of amazing, or reintroduces a bunch of really amazing characters.
Yeah, it gives them the ground to stand on.
Yeah. And Moonstone is the best among them, to me.
No, Songbird is the best among them, and then Citizen V, and then there is a long line of horrible people that psychologically destroy women before you get to Moonstone. But no, Moonstone is fantastic.
Yeah, they're all really cool. But Moonstone's big thing is she is a therapist. She's a psychologist. I think she's a psychologist, not a psychiatrist.
The Marvel Cinematic
Universe, they don't care.
The word doctor, like lollipop.
Right, so exactly. They don't care.
It.
I said podiatrist, not proctologist.
Whatever. I'm still gonna look at both.
The foot in my ass.
But it is like psychology is sort of like lawyer. Psychologist is kind of like lawyer. You've got Doc Samson, you've got Carla, you've got Heather Glenn. You've got Emma Frost. Like, you've got these people, none of whom should be allowed to practice their craft, in the same way that, like, probably Jessica should not be allowed to be a lawyer, or Jennifer should not be allowed to be a lawyer. Matt probably should not be allowed to be a lawyer. What these people do in a courtroom does not resemble law as any of us know it in the real world. But it's, like, fun and funny. And, like, the crossover...
You teach ethics?
The crossover between the characters in the courtroom is funny. And so, like, Heather being here and that potentially being an avenue for a Moonstone introduction is a cool concept to me. I don't know. I'm excited about Thunderbolts the movie. I'm really bummed that we're losing the Thunderbolts. We're not getting the Thunderbolts characters, and I'm curious if we ever will.
That is kind of the difficulty when you're talking about a universe that has had 100 years to develop.
Yeah.
And we're only getting our second movie with Namor, who is the reiteration of Namor, who was kind of like Asian Panic until he was like a hot dude who is only now vaguely Asian, because they have developed so many subsects of the Marvel universe that they have come up with unique, magical, made up, I guess, nationalities to be. So we'll never get Namor. Now we have Namor, and he is so much better, so much more engaging, so much more exciting. The actor is so handsome, so into this role. We're on his second movie. Guys, he was like the third fucking character in this universe. So, like, it is so hard, because how do you get to essentially the Dark Avengers when how many Avengers movies have we had?
Right.
And we're not even close to the West Coast Avengers, Force Works, the Mighty Avengers. We're nowhere near those levels of this world. It's where, I feel like it kind of all comes back to that conversation we were having at the beginning of the episode at like 9 minutes in, where we were like, this was the season finale. I'm itching for the next season already. When is it going to come?
Yep.
It's not just because we want more Daredevil. It's not just because we want the next thing that happens to Kingpin, Daredevil, Karen, Punisher, and more. It's because we want to know what happens to this side of the Marvel Universe. Who else is going to appear? How are they going to be different? How is it going to make us engage with the idea of magic differently? Like the hand being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe a little bit does change how I look at Doctor Strange, because frankly, Doctor Strange, boy, there are some big old dragons in New York City, and it seems like you know nothing about them. And excites me because Doctor Strange is so brilliant, but are you telling me the most brilliant man in the world can learn something new? Oh, that's why I love Batman. You know what I mean? That's that engagement. And so that we're in this unique position that we've been talking about, kind of pulling together this the pieces of this puzzle, this piecemeal experiment. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you start throwing those ideas out, I go to like, yeah, so if the hand exists, then probably the beast exists, and that means that the whole hell dimension, and we've seen pieces of it from the Daredevil universe, but so like, how does Doctor Strange relate to it? But then I go to Werewolf by Night and what we saw there, which takes us closer to Ghost Rider, whose hell, you know, is tangential to the one that the hand relates to. But all of these are connected to, touch, and talk to Mephisto. What happened to Muse when he died? A really huge thing for me was I thought Frank was going to die. The only reason I thought Frank wasn't going to die is because I knew we were getting the special presentation, but I also thought that could have just been, a past episode in his life. I thought they were going to kill Frank, and then I really thought, oh, we actually might be going to hell. Frank and Muse might be in the same hell, and the lord of that hell, whether it's Marduk Curious, whether it is Mephisto, whether it is the Beast, and we start doing the Fist of the Beast and all that stuff, we might be pulling characters from hell, because that's a big part of the Daredevil mythos, and those hells are a big part of the mythos of characters that we saw in Werewolf by Night, and those characters are tangential to Ghost Rider, and that's tangential to Doctor Strange. The Marvel Universe really is all connected in cool ways, and I'm not saying, comics sit there and month after month in various stories and in writing tell you how it all works in ways that actually, like, it's cool that they came up with the connections, but they overwrite them a lot of the time, and they write them literally over and over again over the course of 60 years. It is really possible to just have Swamp Thing or Man-Thing burst on the scene and go, I, as a Nexus being, I was in the hell and I saw Frank there. Frank's in hell. We've got options. It really can be simpler than we think it needs to be. But connecting this stuff, that is a huge part of the value, and it's huge money left on the table not to do it. Do your own thing, Marvel. Of course, you own it all, so you're going to do what you're going to do. But we're telling you that we love what you're doing, and it wouldn't take much to take it to another level. And I really think you can monetize those connections more than you are betting on. And
I think part of it for me is, why don't you do it if you're Marvel? If any other cop gritty drama show can just do regular Punisher stories, but if this is the Marvel universe where we have all of those things, why aren't you giving us the version of that story that you can get anywhere? Like, it's what I keep saying about why we love Dr. Odyssey. It is a really fun medical drama set in an interesting place. It could be any medical drama in terms of the actual medical crap, but because it is set in an interesting place, they're able to do new things. This is set in a universe with magic, with robots, with aliens. So why aren't you doing a Punisher story that can have those things in it? Because isn't that why you're coming to Marvel? It doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all of all of these things all the time. but you have the ability to be doing more than just a regular shoot 'em up.
That's even part of where my frustration with part of the video game engagement on the Marvel Cinematic Universe comes in. They're kind of trying to create their own video game universe. And one of the things that I think is so important is trying to fill in these gaps. We were talking about the fact that we feel like it's going to be a year or two between some elements of this. Even if a bunch of these characters wind up coming back next year for season 2, there's going to be some storylines left on the table. You could fill those out, flesh those out, explore elements of the storytelling with the benefit of video games, with the benefit of some kind of secondary media. Part of what we're facing is, like you said earlier, you know, TK, it's going to be really difficult to get Tom Holland to show up every time you want Spider-Man. But what if Spider-Man showed up in a secondary media? What if we found a way to bridge these gaps a little bit more? Because the thing we're all saying is we want more. We're not saying we don't want. We're saying we want more. And we're saying to think carefully about the engagement of more. And I think that has to do with the fact that as this franchise has continued, the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a bigger picture, everybody's expectation when you've got 14 million fans, it's 14 million microcosmic experiences to try and respect and reflect. That's a lot of Riri. And we still don't have Riri. I want Riri. Where is Ironheart? And that's even part of the joke I'm making. But like, you've already promised us so much, whether it's Ironheart or it's a third Doctor Strange movie or it's Wonder Man. And I don't know how all of that is going to fit into the same chalkboard drawing as Doomsday, as the rest of this bigger picture.
I don't know how substantial this currently is. This is from October 30th, 2024, that Ironheart is currently slated to debut June 24th.
Yeah, I mean, it's done, and there's a lot of pictures from it. So I think at this point,
will it happen?
No, they will release it.
I know they'll release it, but I mean, I haven't heard. There's nothing. There's no article links since October, so I hope we hear something soon. It's April.
It would be their first ever, like, we dropped it for, tax purposes, and we would be talking about a really different. I would be like, we have to get on air and talk about it because it would mean something really different. Marvel would be in a WB zone, which is wild. But yeah, no, I mean, the fact that it is so ready and they haven't announced it or anything, it could just be something weird is happening. But also, like, I'm kind of excited about the possibility in terms of like what it might mean for how they have stuff slated for the rest of the year. The only reason I would think so we've got Thunderbolts in May, and then do we have one more movie this year?
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four. Yeah.
Is in July of this year?
Yeah.
And then that's all we have for the rest of this year.
Wow. So Ironheart might not be till fall.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it might move. It's announced. It's last announced for June.
Yeah. If in October they were saying June, I wouldn't be surprised if it was not till fall, just to keep things spread out. But we're getting it. We are getting it. There's great footage of, not footage, but images of Lupita Nyong'o showing up. I'm excited. Dying to know if we get Shea Coulee. And
I won't say on air, but I just saw who her character is and then looked it up, and I don't understand. It's fine.
Okay. If she's fucking Darkveil, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind.
We can dream.
Yeah. Anyway,
everything you just said is so significant because part of what we're talking about is the Marvel Cinematic Universe films so much, and then every now and then we hear that stuff was reshot, refilmed, edited differently, cut around. Like, I would not want to be part of Rob McElhenney's Mystic Quest right now, where my finale is being redetermined after the fact by a team of editors that are associated with the network. Like, yoinks. And so I I feel like maybe even when we get Ironheart next year, because I'm not holding my breath, when we get Ironheart, it might be totally different. Because I did watch Captain America Awkward New Show, and it was very different than some of the earliest audience reactions I'd read. So I wonder if Ironheart might also suffer from that massive difference. Because like you said, will we get Shea Coulee? Is she playing the character that KEVO has seen she's playing? I am very excited about the future of Daredevil, even if I think that this finale was kind of a letdown. Season A-, episode B-, future of the franchise A+. I think as long as nobody starts pumping the brakes like it is some kind of quick way to ensure film success, this TV lineup has the opportunity to go a very long way.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I would just love right now a kick in the pants announcement, some kind of surprise, something that says to me that somebody is thinking and pitching on the level that we are. And I'm sure somebody is pitching on the level that we are, that an exec is saying yes to that and saying, let's take some risk. Let's have some fun. Let's be expansive. Let's be connective. That's where my heart is. That's where my head is right now.
I love that.
So, we have, like I said, Ironheart is currently slotted for June. Eyes of Wakanda is slotted for August. Marvel Zombies for October. Wonder Man for December. Daredevil Born Again for next March. And then after that, Vision Quest for nebulously 2026. And Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2 nebulously for 2026.
Eyes of Wakanda and Zombies are both animated, right?
I believe that is correct. I don't think Eyes was originally meant to be animated, and now it is.
But Zombies is definitely basically an AU, even if it's attached. It's not. Eyes of Wakanda is not.
Those are each 4 episodes. I think you're correct. I think Eyes of Wakanda is sort of like.
I'm trying to figure out the places where we can get actual universe expansion and like connectivity. I think with animated shows, it's just not, even if they are technically in universe, it's just not likely to happen. It's why it's such a drag that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is its own universe, even though it's so good that it is. But because the show is so good and thinks about so many great things at such a smart, cool level, I'm now like consistently bummed that it is its own universe. And like, again, that finesse can't show up in Daredevil. If we get finesse, we're going to have to get the character a different way.
Well, and on that note, looking at what Eyes of Wakanda is, it is Wakandan warriors carrying out dangerous missions around the world to retrieve vibranium artifacts throughout history. Yeah. And it is listed that in the trailer and confirmed by Marvel Studios, we do see an Iron Fist warrior with a glowing fist. So this is much like we saw the introduction of Storm to the MCU through What If. Yeah. Whether this is the main timeline or not, this is the introduction of something very significant. So I really hope a lot of this stuff, and I know everything can't, but I really hope at least in spirit and tied together in concept, a lot of this stuff is ramping up towards Secret Wars. Yeah. And something with the multiversal saga. I know literally every single piece cannot be directly addressed, but I really hope stuff like you're saying, like we can't tell sometimes what necessarily is the main timeline, what is perhaps a divergent branch, but still ties into the main timeline in other ways. I really hope that will, be part of the story. So we'll see how all of that ultimately ties together. We're going to get more parts sooner than not. Oop, that's not this one. Because we have Thunderbolts coming up in just a few weeks. We have Fantastic Four coming up in July. And we at least have those Marvel TV projects coming probably this year. So if it's not when they're currently slated, we know it'll be soon. So we never are short on things to respond to when it comes to this universe. Kind of like our Drag Race stuff.
Well, but that's even part of what we've been talking about. You know, we feel like we do so much work to make this interconnectivity for them in the MCU right now. We're just hoping that they take our strong, dedicated love and turn it into that kind of creativity. Because, like, you know, TK, you said earlier this episode, seeing Ms. Marvel's dad, so exciting. Seeing Kate Bishop's stepdad, so exciting. But is there room to see characters that still mean something to Matt? You know, obviously, I know that Rosario Dawson is a significant actress, but her character of Night Nurse did really, you know, Claire was such a major part of this world. Is there room to see those characters as well? So, I'm excited. I'm hopeful. Give me your grades. Give me your final thoughts. I want to go eat dinner, and I want to keep thinking about how much I love this show, how much I loved talking about this series, and how much I loved your guys' opinions on this.
Season overall for me, B plus. This episode kind of right in that same zone, maybe B minus. Overall, I think really, really strong. Even my frustrations, like all that stuff that I was talking about with Frank, it's like a really good strong because I'm not sure. And not being sure is better than thinking that they definitely do, just like Frank. There's a lot of ways in which I'm not clear on it. And I think part of that is intentional. I think that is the point. But anyway, that's a longer conversation. Overall, just really good, really exciting. Nothing that was on the table really was bad. It's all the stuff that wasn't on the table that frustrates me because I want to see it there. That's so much of the points that were taken off for me this season were not about what was presented. It's about what wasn't presented. And the myriad reasons why that might be the case are not necessarily mine to know, but I can still be frustrated. So, you know, I have such high hopes for this going forward. You know, I have such high hopes for Maya. I have such high hopes for Jessica, Luke, Danny, but not Danny as Iron Fist. I got hopes up the wazoo. So I hope that we can get it with all these other characters and all this other stuff. What you got, Kevo?
And to immediately pick up on the subject of not Danny as Iron Fist, and that's something I would love to challenge Finn Jones on. You say you want to prove yourself, and if we come up with a different direction for Danny Rand's story, if you're down for that, sure. But you know, the nature is problematic, and that's what we're trying to address. And so, yeah, but yeah, we want to see stuff like that. We want to see characters return. We want to see interconnectivity. You know, as far as a return of Daredevil to television, I want to give this 10s across the board. This was amazing, perfect, fantastic, exactly what I wanted and needed it to be. As a season of Daredevil, as a season of television, you know, it's your grades are really fair. I'm only trumpeting the fact that, I think this was a lot the same show. It didn't feel jarringly different, but it also didn't feel like none of the groundwork that had been put in from Daredevil back in 2014 to 2018 had been laid. We have been eagerly anticipating this since like December 2021, when Matt first reappeared on our screens in Spider-Man No Way Home. And now to have gotten here is really cool, really exciting. I love how enthused all these actors are to be part of this project, and I think that's great. I perhaps now I'm going to be expecting a lot from a second season, which is not unfair. That's a lot of television. This season was good, but now I'm going to need more. So I didn't know he was gonna jump like that. Okay. Yeah. What do I really was like 30 seconds away from rapping, so now I wasn't prepared to continue vamping for more.
I know, that's okay. I got you.
Please
yeah,
do.
I mean, I think at this point we're just sort of, if this is coming back in March, at some point we have to do a really specific look back on our previous takes on a show. Because we spent the entire first half of this episode talking about like the energy that we have coming back to the show in a year. And I do really think like, when you said that, I didn't realize that there was potential talk of when this would come, that it would be March of next year on the schedule. Sometimes I just like don't look that stuff up. And again, it's so that I don't let my energy get affected by it. But if we are talking like, yeah, it's just they're going to do another one in a year, which makes total sense. I feel relatively confident that it's a little bit too long. And so
something that I talk a lot about is how much I feel the 2-year gap between episodes 7 and 8 affected many people, and specifically my reaction to the film inherently from the choice of opening the film 2 weeks after the last story. That is the first time it was ever done like that in Star Wars history. Everyone had spent 2 years imagining these characters having any gap of time to get to know each other better. And that was immediately gone. Rey and Poe don't even meet until the very end of the second of the new trilogy. And people had imagined them being friends and, all of those dynamics evolving. And especially for MCU projects and for Daredevil, and an interconnected universe, we don't know. Are we immediately going to pick right back up? Are we going to see Daredevil Season 2 have been affected by whatever's going to happen in Manhattan with Thunderbolts? It's tough. And when you're making us wait a full year for it, that makes it tougher, whatever we're going to end up coming back to.
And that's even part of where I think we are facing a kind of a crisis of time, with this big reset coming with these 2 movies. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I know I saw Break Yourself mention that there's a possibility that the Marvel Cinematic Universe could completely reboot. With all of these major Fox announcements that are going to be in Doomsday, we're in a really cool position to see how the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to grow. I'm ready to watch it grow excessively. It has been such an amazing opportunity, not just to watch it grow myself, but to get to do it with my husband for 12, 15 years, with TK for the last 5, and I'm exaggerating heavily, but I love him so much.
It's close enough. Getting there.
So, I'm excited. I'm here. I'm present. And I think if anything, I just hope they're as present as I am. So that's the big question. That's the big ask. And we would love to know what you guys think as well, whether you're following us over on our podcast feed here on YouTube or on Blue Sky, where we are all very active. We love you guys. We think you're amazing. And getting to interact with you is amazing. I know I love it when people message me, oh man, the show wasn't on Sunday. Is everybody okay? I have theories. And I can't wait to share your guys' theories. So please, if you guys want to be mentioned on the show, always either hop into the comments or just shoot us a message. We are so happy to talk about what you guys say and credit you 1,000%. But this is a community and we all want you to feel incredibly communitized in this crazy world. So, I love getting to talk about this show, Daredevil in particular. And I thought I would never shut up this episode, but then the 2 of you talked more than me. And I think my favorite part of that is because it reflects what a powerful show this is, that it makes Daredevil that available, that accessible. I feel so rewarded, and I would love to know where everybody could find you guys if they want to be rewarded by continuing to get to interact with you guys. Kevo, you don't just produce this show, you super produce it. And if you were a superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you would be a white guy doing a crazy accent saying super producer. So where can everybody find you?
I hope I wouldn't be that. What kind of crazy accent do I have? I'm from Jersey. People already think my accent is weird enough.
Oh, I'm super producer.
What Yellow Jackets? Oh, somebody said that they thought that Lottie's name was Ladi, like Ladi, like La-di-da, because of the way these fucking people pronounce their words. And I replied to them, that's just the way we talk in New Jersey. I'm really sorry.
Yep.
But you can find me over on the socials at KEVO Really. That's KEVOREALOY. Definitely check out the rest of our channel for a lot of other cool features, like our coverage of other things like Drag Race, like our game Drag Race Draft, which I'm going to have a new episode up this weekend. Come hell or high water, watch me eat those words.
TK, it's so funny because you came to me as a fan of the show, and now I live my life as a fan of you. Whether it's following you over on Blue Sky or every other place, where can everybody find you and find you being amazing?
It's TK Accidental anywhere and everywhere where you might want to look for me. If I'm there, that's my name. That's TK Accidental. Use that one, you'll find me. Hey.
That almost sounded like a rap. Or like a Moby remix.
Yes, that's
check it out. That's where you'll find me. Check it out. That's where I am.
But in the background, there's like old timey Americana, like being cut into. I'm gonna come back. Those samples are all free at the Library of Congress. That's why I was using them. Anyway, NICO, as somebody else who makes music and doesn't sample from the Library of Congress yet.
You,
where are you?
Check me out everywhere. NICO Action Music. That's NICOACTION MUSIC. If it's NICO Action Music, if it's regular NICO Action, NICOACTION. You guys can check me out mostly on Blue Sky. I'm working on getting rid of all my meta accounts, so that can all fuck off. Love and Heavy, if you guys are looking into that one, there's also that. But more than anything, the thing that we all really enjoy is getting to talk to you guys here. So please check us out at HTML, that would be X is for podcast, X is for show, all of those in podcast form here on YouTube and more. If you guys want to do us a big favor, like, comment, and subscribe. But 3 things you guys can do for yourselves being serious. Number 1, the world is getting crazier every day, and every other minute there's some new story out there that says that you guys are in danger. We don't want that, so please stay safe, whatever you do. Number 2, please be brave. We love who you are and we love the things you guys represent. But more than anything, please evolve daily. Who you were yesterday, incredible. Who you are today, amazing. But who you are tomorrow, that's the real dream. And until then, we can't wait to be there with you. So stay ready for season 2. Get excited for other heroes, and we'll see ya.